It seems like everybody misinterpreted what I said about the First Amendment. So either everyone is wrong or I'm wrong. And I would hazard a guess that it's probably not everyone else who is wrong. So, with that understanding, I figure I'd take a step and try to explain my position a little more clearly. The first thing I want to say is I understand that social media platforms have a legal right to determine who can and can't post on their forums. I don't care about that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is whether they should be allowed to do so. Second misconception is that people think it's about Alex Jones. I don't give two shits about Alex Jones. Literally not two shits. The only reason why I care that the only reason why I bring up that it's Alex Jones is to give you context that some specific person specifically got banned from all or most of the relevant social media platforms for wrongthink, for wrong ideas, for all sorts of fun stuff. If you want to come at me and say that, well, he said defamatory things, well, guess what? The people he defamed can sue him over those, and they are. So problem solved. If you want to say that the social media websites may be culpable for the things that are posted there, in the US, I don't believe so, first of all. And second, if they start curating, then they may be. If they start determining who is good and who is bad, what thoughts are acceptable and what thoughts are unacceptable, then all of a sudden they become the publisher. They become the editorial board that is speaking through allowing certain comments and not allowing others. But as long as they maintain an open platform where everybody gets to speak, all the competing views get to be expressed, then they are not speaking. They are just merely providing a space for people to speak, in which case they are protected under U.S. law. Now, if you don't understand that it's not about Alex Jones, then you need to rethink this. And if you don't understand how what happened to Alex Jones can be potentially very detrimental, then let me ask you this question. What if somebody, let's say somebody you like, gets banned for the exact same reasons that Alex Jones got banned? Wrongthink. Then imagine that person wants to run for office. How is that person going to have an effective chance of winning office, winning elections, without access to social media? Riddle me that. People don't watch TV anymore. By and large, people don't go to TV for their news. People go to the internet more and more. Cable TV is losing out big time. Cable news is losing out big time. Their ponds are shrinking. The youth of today, the kids of today, don't sit around watching CNN to get their news. They go to the internet. They go to Twitter. They go to Facebook. They go to YouTube. If you're not allowed access to these larger sites, how can you effectively communicate with the voters? By the way, Andrew Shepard and Mike Hartwell need to get a room. Your love affair is disgusting, and you need to take it someplace private. It's a huge problem. It is a real huge problem. And there's other reasons why it's pretty terrible to lose access to Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. I was logging into Discord yesterday or the day before. I don't remember exactly when. And it wasn't connecting for whatever reason. And it said, hey, if you're having issues, contact us on Twitter. Well, that could be a problem, couldn't it? that could be a problem. If you are banned from Twitter, that could indeed be a problem. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I don't care that it was Alex Jones. I think that David Duke has every right to speak. Sean King has every right to speak. I agree with neither of them. The KKK has every right to speak. Black Lives Matter has every right to speak. I agree with neither of them. But they have the right to speak. And just because I find their message offensive doesn't mean that you find their message offensive, and they should have every right to communicate with you. And censorship doesn't work. You may have noticed that there's been I think the InfoWars app was like at least top 10 at the app, one of the app stores or both. I'm not sure which. And I don't really care. But Alex Jones has had a tremendous amount of free advertising. Okay, he can't communicate via YouTube or Facebook. But guess what, kids? He's still communicating. Now people go to his website and he gets all the revenue from his website instead of just a piece of it from YouTube or a piece of it from Facebook. You can't. Censorship doesn't really work. It's ineffective as a means to, it's called the Barbra Streisand effect. It's ineffective as a means to try to keep people from speaking. And I'll bet you $1. Here, let's do this. Let's do this. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Look, it's Alex Jones. Here is Alex Jones on YouTube. Tell me, this was August 9th of 2018. Tell me how effective this YouTube ban has been. Tell me how effective it's been. Alex Jones clip compilation. Alex Jones, I mean, it doesn't work. It's stupid. And it's detrimental to our society. I am a firm believer that since the internet is interstate commerce, Congress has a right to regulate it, and Congress should make social media platforms First Amendment protected free speech platforms. If the social media content provider or platform provider wants to block speech, they should hide it and refer it to law enforcement, and then law enforcement can then either act on it or reject it, at which time it would be unhidden. That would be perfect to me. That way, like if someone's throwing child porn out there, it could be hidden immediately and referred to law enforcement. And then law enforcement can deal with it. But if it's somebody like speaking, if it's somebody saying, hey, I like the KKK or I like Black Lives Matter or whatever they're saying, and the platform provider doesn't like it, they could hide it, they could send it to law enforcement, and law enforcement can be like, well, technically what they're saying is protected free speech, so unhide and be done with it. I would much rather have that than have some unaccountable person hidden behind a computer, nameless, or an algorithm determining what I can or can't hear and or say. And as far as people thinking that it's not arbitrary, it is entirely arbitrary. There are rough guides, but it all comes down to what men in black robes think. I mean, if it gets in front of a judge, it's what a man in black robes thinks about what is said. It's not what you intended to say. It's not what the other person heard. It's what the guy in the black robe thinks after hearing two attorneys argue over it for however many hours. It's what he thinks. It comes down to his determination. It's arbitrary. Roughly nested in some loose guidelines, it's arbitrary. I mean, if you think that Count Dankula was making hate speech when he taught his pug how to do a Nazi salute, that's ridiculous. But a guy in a black robe thought it was. It's arbitrary. It wasn't hate speech when Mel Brooks did it. Springtime for Hitler in Germany, whatever that movie was called. It wasn't hate speech when Charlie Chaplin did it. But all of a sudden it's hate speech when Count Dankula teaches his pug how to do a, in air quotes, Nazi salute. It's arbitrary. It's capricious. It needs to be stopped. There's a reason why the Supreme Court has held that just about every form of speech is protected until you get into some very, very carefully regulated tiny fields. And even those, it's a case-by-case, fact-by-fact kind of determination where if you convince the judge that it was unprotected, then all of a sudden it's unprotected. And if you can't, then it wasn't. And then maybe the appeals court will think differently. And then if the appeals court doesn't think the way you want, then maybe the Supreme Court will think differently. I've rambled enough. I think I've made my point. I hope I've made my point. I don't understand why in this community people are A-okay with the government, or not okay with the government regulating your speech, but you're just peachy keen with a corporation regulating your speech. That's ridiculous because the government can apply pressure to the corporations. If you don't start cracking down on wrongthink, we're going to keep calling you in front of our committees and putting you on the hot seat, costing you millions in attorney's fees and things like that. If you don't do this, we're gonna think about passing legislation, so you better just do it. And all of a sudden, without having to go through any First Amendment scrutiny, the government has, by proxy, imposed their will on your freedom of speech. And everybody's just all keen and happy on it. Well, gosh golly, it's a corporation doing it, so it must be okay. Some of these same people are saying things like, oh, you know, the government's run by the corporations. And yeah, they have a hell of a lot of influence. But it's fine if the corporation determines what you can or can't say. That's A-okay. That's fine. As long as it's not the government regulating your free speech. As long as it's not the government. Anybody else can do it. Everyone else can do it. Come one, come all. Come regulate what we can say as long as it's not the government doing it. That's ridiculous. Anyway, I got a little heated there. I'm sorry. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.